Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hey there, hi there, hello there. This is RHJunior, RHJunior, Reality Check, coming to you live over the internet through a series of tubes known as the Boob Tube of YouTube, bringing you another live stream event from my little corner of the internet, and a little thing I like to call spleen squeeze-ins. Hey, what are y'all doing? I'm back. Hello. This is me, Ralph Hayes, RHJunior. You know the drill. Here, let me take a stop a minute. Taking a drink of milk. Tasty, refreshing, invigorating, full of calcium and vitamin D. But they add the vitamin D later. So, it's amazing how much effort humanity spends in trying to tell people that God didn't know what he was doing when he was making a cow. But moving on. Moving on to where I sit here staring at the screen, waiting for something, anything, to change. Let's see. Got the music, got the... I'm old, I'm deaf. What's the matter with you? You deaf? Yeah, just about. Getting old, turning into an old fart. Wanted to talk about a few different things. A few things that have popped up on the internet in the past 3 weeks while I've been, out of commission. Oh, good Lord, what is this? What is this music? Oh, move it on. Trying to suck out my will to live. Hate that song. This particular collection of songs is played from Audio Library on YouTube. It's free, no copyright music, so you can play it at any time you want. But the thing of it is that the shuffler is a piece of crap and keeps playing like the last 10 songs over and over again. It's just, one of those make you, dry heave kind of things. Okay, for those who are wondering where I've been over the past 3 weeks, it's been about 3 weeks. It's a little over 2 weeks. Okay, got an infection, got a sore in my leg that wouldn't heal, and it got infected. So I actually had to call an ambulance to carry me out because at that time my legs are chronically swollen, and they were so swollen that the only people that could transport me was an ambulance. And they took me to the hospital, they took me to the yard, they looked me over, and they just said, okay, we'll keep you for a couple of days, and then we're going to ship you over to the Arbors, which is basically a senior citizens center. It's a long-term care center for therapy for a couple of weeks. Couple of weeks, man. Let me tell you. It's not what you call a restful. It's not what you call a vacation. You know. I was already, strung out because, it's the end of the year and I haven't got anything. You know how it is. It's the end of the year. You haven't got anything done. You've got nothing in the bank, and just utter crap. But they took me in. They gave me, they put me through some exercise therapy, and they basically just kept me. Basically, I just bedridden for 2 weeks, and my legs shrank down enough that I said, okay, I got to go home. I can't. They were going to keep me until the middle of January, and I said, okay, I can't do that because the calendar turns over and I've got all these bills that have to be paid and stuff. And oh, just a moment, just a moment. And excuses to mail and all this other crap. So I came home just Christmas Eve. Not that it mattered. I didn't buy anybody any gifts. And, just I've become that relative nobody talks about. That they think of mom and dad and grandpa and grandma, and oh yeah, this guy way over here, we never talk about him. But yeah. Anyway, they did, just having my feet up like that had them, shrunk down to where I'm a lot. I've got a lot more energy. I got a lot more pep. I can get around the house and do a little bit more. I might even be able to fit into a van again. Fit into a taxi van, go places. Not that I'm about to. Got a hospital appointment on the 16th or something, January. Good grief. It's aggravating because I'm letting my legs go unwrapped today. Kind of a slow day. But I really should keep them wrapped. I wrap my legs up, and the wrapping squeeze them, and I look like 10 times more deformed than I do without them. It looks like I've got great big club feet. It's really awful. But this is just I'm rambling all over the place. I don't really know what to talk about to get this ball rolling. Well, I wasn't exactly in chronic pain. I was just in chronic, poor health. Doesn't really hurt. My legs really don't hurt. I suppose they ache a little bit when I sit down and think about it. Maybe I've grown acclimated to it. No. Getting back on the cow topic. That's what the topic is today. Just to open the show, cows. Yeah, cows have been bred for thousands and thousands of years, but man didn't design them. Okay, my point is that you got these people. God gave us like 6 different animals that can give milk, and a dozen more if we're willing to push it. Okay, we got cows and sheep and goats and camels. They milk camels for milk. I'm like camel milk. I'm just dancing for joy for a glass of that. But cow's milk and what do? We go out and we try and make fake milk out of soybeans and almonds. Tell me again how your lifestyle is more natural, Mr. Vegan. Look, I want to make a gallon of milk. All I need is a cow and a field of grass. You want to make a gallon of milk? You need an orchard, a few thousand miles of irrigation, and a factory. Bite me. I don't like vegans. I consider them a hostile entity. And people are wondering, you sit there and you wonder a bit why people are so angry at vegans all the time. I'll tell you why, because we recognize a threat to the tribe. Deep down, we all recognize a threat to the tribe. And there couldn't possibly be a bigger threat to the tribe than somebody who tries to make it, tries to convince everybody in the tribe that it's against the will of the gods, to go out and bring in the hunt. Mama Nature Uga Chaka Mama Earth wants us to all live on nuts and seeds and grass, Get out of here. And also, we don't even have to think about it. The more you think about it, the more obviously vegans are hypocrites. They're raging hypocrites because their lifestyle requires the support of a 21st century civilization. There's a word for a vegan back in like the 18th century: malnourished or dead. You see, they're sitting there chucking down iron supplements to make up for what they're not getting in their not meat diet. They're chucking down supplements for all the other things in their diet they're not getting because they're living on bean sprouts and arugula shipped in from Korea and they're talking about how much more natural it is. They're talking about how much more compassionate their lifestyle is when their lifestyle. Let's put it this way: I want a steak, one cow dies. 100 people want a steak, one cow dies. Do you know how many animals die every year just to grow a field of chickpeas? Hundreds, literally hundreds, and we're not just talking like vermin, rats and mice and stuff, and little birdies. We're talking, and snakes, and we're talking some serious stuff. Down in Australia, they were talking about, they talked about it. They said they have to go out and kill wallabies all the time to keep them from eating the girls. And they have to kill deer and elk and stuff to keep them from eating the crops. Something lives. In order for you to live, something else has to die. That's the horrible truth. Grow up. The rest of us learn to accept it after kindergarten. Oh yeah. Anyway, and let's put it this way: here's the deal. Domestication was basically, as Terry Pratchett put it, a contract between the domesticator and the domesticated. We go up to a wild animal and go, do the Monty Hall. Let's do a deal. Let's make a deal. Here's the offer. Door number 1. You live inside this great big red building. You go inside that great big red building, and you live inside that great big fenced-in area. And in exchange, eventually, in exchange, you will get, you will live in that area, and you will get fed. You will get sheltered from the elements. You will be protected from predators. If you fall sick, we will take care of you. If you are sick, we will take care of you. If you get injured, we will take care of you. And your offspring will get the same deal. And in exchange, at the end of a certain number of years, we will take your wool, we will take your eggs, we will take your milk, and at the end of a number of years, you will suffer a quick, as quick and painless and merciful a death as we can manage, so that we can, so we can have the leather and the meat and everything else. Door number 2, you live out in the wild. It snows, you freeze. The sun comes up, you bake. The sun goes down, the predators track you down. And you will most likely die screaming in agony over, stretched out, over an hour or two. Either dying from injuries falling off a cliff, subsuming to some horrible disease, or being eaten alive by wild animals. Choose wisely. Okay, don't get me started on vegans. I hate vegans because they're hypocrites. They stand and they look down on the rest of us because they have a lifestyle that is crueler, more wasteful, and more destructive of the environment than ours is, and they refuse to acknowledge it. They think the world is Disneyland, and they can't cope with the fact that they're a part of the circle of life. This is something they should have gotten over in kindergarten. Oh no! Now, uh, where was I? Where was I going with this? I was all over the map. I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about, but I'm all over the map now, and I don't know where I'm going. Oh, since we're talking about predators and prey, let's talk about some of the new the new anime. New animation and anime and stuff that is making the rounds right now. Let's see here. Let me pull up an image here. Okay, there is a new anime that has come out that everybody is going nuts over. It's called Beastars. This is what happens when somebody doesn't know how to pronounce English. I swear, it's just terrible. Beastars. I feel bad for the people. I feel bad for people who write anime and try and translate it over to English because they really don't realize how bad their names, how nonsensical their names sound. There's just some things in that just don't culturally translate. But anyway, let me pull up the image. No, that's not the right button. Window capture, yay. Here we go. Beastars. This is not cute and cuddly wuddly, okay? This is not cute and cuddly wuddly. Okay, this is not for children. Anyway, the general premise is that this wolf guy that's on the cover has fallen for this. She's actually supposed to be a dwarf rabbit, so she's even more tiny and teeny tiny and cute. And that's the central premise. Is, the struggle with their relationship, to put it mildly, because in their world, the predators, it's just like Zootopia, a lot more grim and gritty though. It's a grim and gritty version of Zootopia, basically, because in their world, predators are still vicious carnivores. Meat eating is completely illegal, of course. It's cannibalism, but it still goes on in the underground. Like the yakuza engage in human trade, except they're trading in herbivores. You can figure out the rest. And the predators genuinely have dangerous, terrible instincts to devour herbivores and blah 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 blah. Okay, he's gotten a terrible crush on this cute bunny girl, and he's every time he's around her, he basically falls flat on his own face. And well, let's put it this way. I forget. This is not Kitty show because he finds out real quick this girl is a slut. He meets her alone in their high school gardening club shed, and she thinks he wants to go around. She's like, "Oh, you're my first predator," and she proceeds to strip naked in front of him, well, down to her underwear, and undo his belt. I don't know whether you could call him the dumbest or wisest man ever, but he runs for his life. You know, damn near slams his tail in the door and runs for his life. It turns out that she's dysfunctional. You know what I'm saying? Because among other things, because she's a cute, helpless little bunny, and she's always felt like she's been looked down on. She takes the kindness, and she's a dwarf rabbit, and she feels like the smiles are that everybody around her is condescending to her. And when she hit puberty, she figured out that she's gotten it in her head that she gets respect, at least from males, by by being promiscuous. Power through sex kind of thing. So you see where I'm going with this. This is not for kids. And there's a lot, and there's also another plot that's going on the sidelines. Is that one of the students got killed violently by a predator, as in they found his half-eaten body lying in the stadium, in the school auditorium. This crisis and conflict that's going on because of this. And you've got a wolf girl who is competing with the rabbit for the wolf guy's affections. You've got this deer guy who's, he's got a few screws loose because when he was just a fawn, he had been in the meat market. Basically, he had been a slave, and his future had been that he was going to be sold to somebody for lunch, in the illegal market. So he's not exactly strung together too tight. And yeah, well, you get the picture. Imagine Zootopia on your most dysfunctional day, and you've got it. Okay, I've got an issue. I've got several issues with this. I've seen people do anthropomorphic comics, furry comics, whatever you want to call them, with this premise. The carnivores and the herbivores are divided against each other, and they try to turn it into a cultural thing, an allegory for racial tension or something. Or they try to make it into a long-running joke like Kevin and Kel. Quit being funny after the first strip, dude. Stop. Please. Okay. I can't deal with it. It's bad writing to me, okay? Because I look at this, and the first thing, the minute I get the premise, I'm like, but that raises so many questions. So many questions. As in, how did these, the carnivores and the herbivores get together and make a civilization in the first place if they're still eating each other? And don't they have any other animals, non-intelligent animals on their planet? They would have to. Because, an ecosystem made up only of plants and essentially an intelligent species. They're basically one intelligent species, no matter how you look at it. They even got them, crossbreeding with each other. They got the wolf guy. His grandfather is a Komodo dragon. Okay. So you got some serious crossbreeding going on there. And there's one character who is half goat and half predator of some sort, and he's bug nuts crazy. But a world that only had plants and intelligent beings. The ecosystem would just collapse. There has to be at least some form of animal life out there that's non-intelligent that the carnivores would feed on. And third, carnivore and herbivore. That's a play school classification system. There are thousands of species. You've got insectivores, you've got piscivores, the animals that eat fish. You got omnivores, which eat a little bit of everything. Hello, welcome to the human race. You've got predators that are, they're not apex predator. Every predator is not an apex predator. There are many predators which are in turn prey for other animals. So, and there are many cases of animals they thought were obligatory herbivores. Turns out that they can eat meat in a pinch, and a lot of obligatory carnivores can eat vegetables or fruits. Doesn't do them a lot of good, but they do it. So this is a ridiculous setup, because it would never gel naturally or socially. You'd have the wolves over here, we're the big bad predators, and the bunny rabbits, we're the cute little herbivores, and in the middle is the raccoon going, well, screw me, So it's a terrible premise. The promise with the setting is that it raises more questions than answers and doesn't answer any of them. And what few answers it tries to give make no sense. So there you have it. Plus, the bunny's a slut. Moving on. Pardon? The next one I'd like to talk about is when it's called Has Been Hotel. Has Been Hotel. It's a pilot, a proposed pilot for a pilot for a proposed series. It was created by this one girl who calls herself Vivzy Pop. Something of supposedly she's a notorious figure in the internet for some reason. She said something disparaging about gays once, I think. But anyway, she's the premise of Has Been Hotel is that the princess of hell, this chick. Okay, here let me back up a step. The premise in Has Been Hotel is that hell is basically just a really big, nasty city, and it gets overpopulated because there are so many sinners being dumped down in hell. And so every year, once a year, these beings that are apparently supposed to be angels come down and slaughter every demon in hell they can find to make more room. If you aren't going, but that raises questions. If you aren't saying that already, you're not paying attention. Well, anyway, this chick, who is the daughter of Lucifer and Lilith, and she's the princess of hell. She's basically a badly displaced Disney princess. She's cheerful and she's happy and she's, all puppies and rainbows. And her proposal, she wants, she has built a hotel she calls the Happy Hotel. And the objective is that the hotel is basically a halfway house for demons and, demons and sinners who want to reform. So that they can go back to, so that they can reform and go to heaven. Every theologian within 1,000 miles of the sound of my voice is now just bludgeoning their skulls against the nearest solid object. But that's the premise. And everybody thinks that her plan is a joke. All the demons, and nobody's interested in this hotel, except a rare handful. Okay, first of all, let's see. Let me get a picture of the cast. Her first client Her first and only client this thus far is Angel Dust. He is a porn star in hell. A drag queen porn star. Not, for the kiddies. But, and he's nasty, he's crude, and just about every other sentence out of his mouth is a sexual innuendo or a vulgar, an outright vulgar joke. But that's true for literally all the characters except one. Now, he's staying in the Has Been Hotel for free, for a free room. But they're holding over, they're his first client basically for this. It's basically hell's own Betty Ford clinic. And the main protagonist is named Charlie. This is her girlfriend, Vaggie. Vaggie. Yes, that's her name. Vaggie. See? We've got lesbians! And she's basically a ball of violence on behalf of Charlie. And then, basically that's the whole premise, is these characters trying to run this hotel and redeem demons. Basically they make no distinction between the sinners basically become demons. Let's see here. There's one character that is actually interesting and unique and original. That I have to admit, a very fascinating way to character. This is Alastor. He's known as the Radio Demon. He has a voice like an old vacuum tube radio, and he talks like a radio announcer from the 1920s. He gets on board with Has Been Hotel, as he openly states it. He is one of the most powerful demons in hell. And he gets on board with the Has Been Hotel because he's bored. And he considers this, and he says that it's an investment in future entertainment for him. To watch all these, watch all these demons come into this hotel, struggle as hard as they can, only to fall and fail. He thought the great stock market crash of the 1920s was hysterical. He's that kind of guy, even while he was alive. Anyway, of all the characters, he's the only one that is drawn consistently. He never makes a vulgar joke. He never swears. He's the only character that does not swear, and which is an interesting thing in and of itself. And he's the only one that behaves like a civilized person, basically. Even Charlie has a mouth on her, and she's the Disney princess character. And he gets into this and one of the first things he does is that another demon that's trying to take over a bunch of territory shows up in a battleship, tries to blow the Has Been Hotel away, and Alastor snaps his fingers and destroys the guy and his ship with a giant portal full of tentacles. So it's made very clear from the start, Alastor really is excuse me, a terrifying force. Okay, let's start off with the basics. It's vulgar, it's crude, it's nasty, it's explicit, it boils down to the entire, the I'm not even going to talk about the artwork, you know art, the style. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people say it's overwrought, some people say it's really innovative. I don't talk about that, I don't care about that. But the show itself, it boils down to a curly locked little cherubic little girl jumping up on a stool at a family get together, and shouting all the dirty words she heard her favorite uncle say at the top of her lungs, and then standing there, with a big old dimpled smile on her face, waiting for everybody to applaud her. That is basically what Vivzy Pop is doing here. It's not merely coincidentally offensive because of the topics. It's deliberately offensive. Every other sentence is crafted in such a way. The objective is to be as vulgar as possible, and vulgar and vile and offensive as possible. So, what am I supposed to say about this? I mean, it's literally intended to offend everybody, and it actually does. You had a lot of these social justice warriors got bent out of shape because one of the characters who's supposed to be antagonistic refuses to shake Charlie's hand and says, "I don't touch the gays." Well, congratulations! It's a clean sweep, Vivzy Pop. You've offended, and you vilely offended everybody. Goody for you. And the hysterical thing is that it's not the uptight Christian fundies who have protested first, but the liberated liberals who are getting their underpants in a twist. So, congratulations. It's a grown woman standing up on a stool, screaming duty at the top of her lungs and expecting an award for it. Forget the content, just the animation difficulty. It took them 4 years to make this pilot. It's a 20-minute pilot, and it took them 4 years to animate it. Largely because of the art style, which is incredibly cluttered and over detailed. Every character has a highly unique design with, tons and tons and tons of superfluous detail in their styling. So, and well, there's 1,001 little bitty complaints you can make, but overall, it's just okay. Now, setting aside the childish offensiveness of it, congratulations. Basically, she's invented 20 minutes of animated goat okay? But the questions about the cosmology of it just are all over the place. It's even interesting. One of the characters goes, one of the characters says, "I want to kill this guy," and the guy goes, "What are you gonna do? I'm already dead." Would that mean, would I have to be double dead? Would I have to go to double hell? This question is never answered. People can, this city is supposed to be hell. It's not a city of punishment, in fact. It's just everybody in there doing whatever they want, being as horrible as they want, doing whatever they want, drugs, booze, sex. It's a lousy place to live, and you can be killed at any moment. So it's basically Chicago. If demons, and then there's a question: if demons can actually be redeemed by being virtuous, what the heck is Charlie doing there anyway? She's the nicest person in the entire thing. She's literally, she's literally Cinderella or Snow White in a Day of the Dead costume. So what is she doing stuck there? And you know, and the more questions you ask, the more these angels are coming down, wiping out these people to keep the population of hell down. Why? Because according to Word of God, according to Vivzipop, the city is just one area in the world of hell. And that there are mountains and deserts and tons and tons and tons of space, which heaven could be dumping unwanted souls in. So and also what happens to the souls that the angels obliterate? Do they cease to exist? Do they go someplace else? Are they reincarnated? What happens? Nobody says. These sound like silly, childish questions, but these are the kind of questions that the pilot is supposed to answer. The pilot of any show has to answer as many of the basic premises of the show as possible, and it doesn't. Because this woman, this Vivzy Pop, was more interested in making the loudest, rudest, crudest, uh, you know, display that she possibly could to garner as much attention on the internet as she possibly could. Like I said, a child standing on a stool screaming all the dirty words she knows off the top of her head and expecting a cookie for it. And sad to say, so many people are willing to give it to her. Oh, this is so wonderful. This is so avant-garde. This is so interesting. This is so original. This is so crap. Yeah, I can see that that she with the setting she was going for, that hell is other, going with the old Sartre saying that hell is other people. But it's not clarified. Nobody there is actually being punished by anything, except just being around rotten people. And in fact, they've got people there. They've got babies that are being born. Supposedly that babies are being born in hell, and and just on and on. And just everything she's done in this pilot is just a confusing mess. Even setting aside the offensiveness of it. Now, Beetlejuice was nothing like this. Beetlejuice was nothing like this. Beetlejuice, the animated series, was about the ghost and the netherworld. They made no theological commentary about it. They made no theological commentary. They made no social commentary. It was just a kid, a teenage girl and her ghost with the most having goofy fun in Ghost World. But this one, she is explicitly setting up a scenario, making a setting which is supposed to be hell, a pit of perdition and torment and punishment. Anybody who's lived in a major city in this life on this planet would look at the hell city, the pentagram of her setting, and go, it's not much difference from what I left. So she fails in that regard too. It's just uh, you know, as the old joke goes, is this plot necessary for all the sex and violence? Everything else she's made about this setting is just framing so that she can cram in as much viscerally offensive stuff as she can find. I suspect she's got a Sunday school teacher or something that she's from her childhood that she's incredibly pissed at to this day. She wants to go, so there, Mrs. Higgins. Nah. Oh my. Just ow. Got a sore on top of my scalp. I got a patch on top of my head. I think it's sunburned. I'm sort of balding, and sometimes I don't notice. Stay out in the sun too long. Get a burn on top of my head, or I'll bang the top of my head on something. You don't realize how much your hair cushions your head from little dings and nicks and bruises and stuff until you start losing it. But, there are there are hundreds of animators on the internet that have done so much better, so much better work. And they're not getting 1/10 the acknowledgement that this overgrown child is getting for her dirty pictures. Oh, they're remaking the sequel to Ghostbusters. The original Ghostbusters 2, where they replaced all the male characters with women, and it bombed hard because the women weren't funny. And they went around saying, you didn't watch it because you're sexist. No, we didn't watch it because it sucked. Anyway, they're remaking it. They're making a new sequel, and it ignores the all women. That never happened. And basically, it follows the grandson of one of the Ghostbusters. It has been long enough that they'd be grandparents now. They could be grandparents. And this kid has moved out onto the old family farm and gone out to the barn and found the old Ghostbuster equipment. And it takes off from there. And it looks it looks very impressive. It looks like they're doing some real solid storytelling here. From just from watching the trailer, you can see that they're doing some original character work, original action. And it looks promising. Very promising, and I'm glad to see that. And I hope someday somebody does that with Star Wars. The last three movies, even with them throwing everything they had into into the Rise of Skywalker, apparently it's tanking. All American dumpster fire. I'll be fair, and I'll say this. I've gone back and I've watched the original trilogy, the original Star Wars, the first movie, and I got to admit, it's not all that big. It's not all that big a deal. It's mostly nostalgia that makes it seems like such a great thing. It's a fairly it's fairly he's got some pretty egregious flaws. But what made it such a fantastic success back at the time is it was at the right place and right time. People were sick of all the moody, introspective, deconstructive, cynical movies that were coming out, And Star Wars came out. It was light and dark, good and evil, and old fashioned, solid storytelling. It wasn't a deep introspective story, not by a long shot, but it was solid, and people reacted positively to it. And the sequels were the same story. Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. The first time I saw Return of the Jedi. I saw the Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, watching them on a VCR at the end of the school year. Good Christian family doesn't go to the movie theater, but we saw it with my classmates, and I was so excited I could not sit still. I kid you not. Every bit of action in Return of the Jedi had me just shaking in my seat just shaking in my seat like a bowl of Jello from the adrenaline. But I've seen the prequels, and I saw one of the sequels, and I'm like, okay, we're not going any further. Not with the people that are holding on to it now. It's tragic, really. All these women, you take if you hire a woman whose only objective is to prove that a woman can do this job, a woman can do this job just as good as a man. She is going to immediately proceed to prove the exact opposite, that she is absolute crap at the job. And that's what happened with the Ghostbusters. That's what happened with the Star Wars sequels. They, they let a bunch of feminists and women with a chip on their shoulder get in charge, and it is just train wreck all over the place because they were more interested in proving themselves, proving that a woman can do anything a man can, than they were in actually respecting the original material and doing a good job with it. The special effects people busted their humps only to only to see all their efforts in vain. uh, what can be said? What can be said? Oh well, you've seen the Cats movie they're making. They made all these they made these beautiful costumes, made even gave them animated tails and everything, and left them with human faces. And I can tell you, it's obvious why they did the human face thing, because you have all these self-important actors and actresses. Oh, you're not going to cover up my face. I'll never get any eye. And so they ended up with these horrible monkey-looking things. That's what they look like. They look like a monkey or a lemur or something. They don't look like cats. They look like lemurs. And apparently the Cats movie has been pulled from Oscar consideration entirely. It's that bad. Kind of sad. I mean, look at this. Let's see here. I mean, background, header, window capture. Here we go. It's just sad, isn't it? Look at it. Why did it? You can't even really recognize the actors or actresses, but they still insist. You're not going to cover up our faces, are you? Look at that. That's not a cat. That's a lemur. A lemur wearing lipstick. Lipstick lemurs. They could have pulled it off, but no. I've never seen the Cats musical. Never seen it. I've listened to the soundtrack. I used to have a copy of it, but I can never find that exact same music anywhere anymore. It's always somebody else doing a rendition. Yeah, another box office bomb. Millions of dollars spent on special effects. Next to nothing spent on writing. Yeah, I still think the Sonic movie trailer muck up. I think that was deliberate because I've seen the trailers after they've changed them. The movie itself looks awful. Terrible acting. It's just another B movie direct to video. I think they figured the movie is so awful. This is the only way we're going to salvage it by faking doing something awful with the look and then changing it. Look, we're listening to the audience. You know, no, I'm not going to bother watching it. It looks like another Howard the Duck. Is what it looks like. Now, to be fair, I did enjoy the Howard the Duck the first time I saw it, but I was like 12. It was dumb. Howard the Duck was dumb fun. This looks like just dumb. I remember when Hop came out in theaters. Oh man, that was painful. I've said this before. I say it again. One of the common mistakes that people make when they're making these movies, when they make a movie that mixes live action and animation, they do the same dumb thing every single time. They make the live action actors act as goofy and as dumb and as uncanny valley. They make them act as goofy as the animated characters. That is a colossal mistake. Colossal mistake. The live actors should play it straight. They should play it completely straight. The storyline should play it completely straight. It's the animated characters that are supposed to be the fish out of water, the unusual feature that's been added to the normal world. Excuse me. But they don't do that. In these other movies, they make the human characters and protagonists act as goofy and silly as the animated characters, and it doesn't work. Yeah, exactly. The whole point of Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the juxtaposition between the reality of Eddie Valiant, the hard-boiled detective, and the insanity of the Toons. Every other movie that has tried to mix live action and animation has forgotten this and has basically made Eddie Valiant as goofy and insane as the Toons. Hop being the premier example of it. It was just bad. And I've seen several shorts, TV show pilots, that sort of thing. No. And they did the same thing with Alf. Alf, same story. The normal family versus the weirdo alien. But when people tried to imitate that, they made shows where the supposedly normal family was just as strange and off the wall as whatever weirdo protagonist had been thrown in. I'm a little tired of new animated features being nothing little more than a gay lifestyle advocacy. I mean, nobody was fooled when Steven Universe came out. Okay, even standard name for it was, they referred to it as the gay space rock show. It's an aberrant sexual lifestyle. It's deviant and it's also wrong, and it's a sin, and that's something I will not apologize for saying. God forbid that a Christian should stand by the moral standards that have been central to his faith for 2,000 years. God forbid anybody of the Judeo-Christian faith stick by moral and ethical and sexual values that have been the standard for nearly 10,000 years. Give me a break. they give a lot of lip service to how everybody's everybody's values and opinions and and differing standards are important. Then they get incredibly outraged if God forbid, you should actually express them. We believe in individual freedom. Bake me a gay cake, slave. Only in our culture could we come up with a gay cake. Give me a break. Then there was a guy who wanted a special cake baked for his gender reveal party. That was the latest version. We got, they've gotten us. They've forced us at gunpoint. They basically, when they got these laws passed, they were not advocating their freedom. They were pushing to take away ours, because now they can have the government hold us in gunpoint and force us to call a homosexual partnership a marriage, and fine and penalize and wait and see, imprison us if we refuse to. And now they're going to go out and they're insisting that we have to call a man a woman. And every demand has been crazier and crazier. They've demanded that we call men women and women men, and now they demanding that we call them neither or both, or an entire list of sex and gender themed variations. And we are the ones who are expected to jump through hoops or suffer the lash. Gay marriage rights was never about rights. It was about using the force of law to coerce everyone else into validating their lifestyle and punishing anybody that refused. People are welcome to hate me for that. They already do. I'm quite used to it. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there bashing me as hard as they can and trying to get me banned from the internet. What's the name of the midget? What's the name of the midget from Game of Thrones? His little quote: "You don't prove somebody a liar by cutting out their tongue. You just prove you're afraid of what they're going to say." And that's what people are running around doing. They're running around on Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr trying to cut out the tongues of anybody who dissents with them. So, man, this is the reality. This is the reality of what it's like to be anybody with any Christian or even just moderately conservative, Judeo-Christian or conservative values. That anything you say could be the very last time you're ever allowed to be heard from ever again, because they will censor you and silence you. They will take away your Facebook. They will put you in throw you in Facebook jail. Take away your YouTube channel, censor all your videos, block all your posts. We're not censoring you. This isn't censorship. This is just a private. That's like going back in time and telling the people that were printing the first Bible, we're not censoring you. You can print all the Bible. You can make copies of all the Bibles you want. You're just not allowed to hold a Gutenberg press. You can believe what you have the right to bear arms so long as you don't load it or carry it or have it anywhere in public, or just so long as you hide it in a vault someplace where we don't have to look at it. You have the right to freedom of speech so long as we don't ever hear you. You have the right to freedom of the press. We're just not going to allow you to buy any ink or paper. All these people that are running the internet is being taken over by people who want the privileges of being an impartial distributor, but the right to control of a gatekeeper. That can't continue. That must not continue. I don't care if you hate everything I say and want me to die in a fire. If you don't permit, if you go out of your way to take away my ability to speak and be heard and to dissent and to argue and to disagree with people, and to be heard, you're cutting your own throat, and you don't even know it. This is what it means to be a Christian in this world. Even the most backslidden, worldly, secular, sorry, sad sack example of a Christian. That you live in a world that will, at the slightest provocation, at the earliest opportunity, seek to snuff you out. That's not a persecution complex. That's 2,000 years of experience. As I've been saying for years, people have called me sexist, bigoted, racist, homophobic. They sexist, racist, homophobic, Islamophobic. They're all you know what they are? They're the 21st century. They're the 21st century equivalent of duty head. You're a poo poo head. I don't like you. Wah, wah, wah. I don't think it's the love of humanity that keeps me going so much as the vindictiveness. The toxic schadenfreude that boils through my veins. Yeah. This is why feeling sorry for myself now, sitting here doing nothing. I was going to do some drawing, and I'm trying to muster some gumption and umption to sit down and open the drawing board. But I'm feeling pooped. I'm cranky, and I really don't know what to draw. Porn artists have it easy in that regard. What should I draw today? Naked chick. Yeah. Question answered. And away they go. You try and draw anything more complex, you try and do anything more less carnal, and you're sort of stuck. What should I do? What should I do? I don't know what I should do. I don't know what I. And here I am. Why isn't it censorship when it look? K Long, reality of the universe. Everybody, ourselves included. Though we do try, God willing, we try to be aware of it. We try to be aware of it in ourselves. But other people, it's the same story. Everybody wants the rules to apply to someone else. Everybody wants an excuse for themselves, to do whatever they want. That's the fallen, sinful human nature. And the only cure for that is the redemption of Christ and the second coming. That's it. Straight up. That chapter I recently posted of the Warcrafter. In 2 weeks, I sat there with my little tablet and tapped that out. That's all I've actually managed to produce over the past 2 weeks. Got to open up. I really got to open up a vein and start hardcore producing. And I didn't get hardly anything done today. I didn't get anything. I was not a good day. I don't think. Got a couple of groceries delivered. Got that mail. Right before I had to go to the hospital, I bought a bunch of groceries. And so I get home. I've got 3 gallons of spoiled milk in the fridge, a bag of spoiled sliced roast beef, a bag of spoiled hamburger, uh, all in the fridge, a spoiled steak, a bunch of black bananas sitting on top of the refrigerator. I managed to get the milk replaced and get some sliced lunch meat, and wouldn't believe how expensive that is. And what else did I get? Got 3 gallons of milk and some sliced roast beef, and didn't I get something else? But well, anyway, my life. Uh, I paid my electric bill and my internet bill, and now I got squat in the bank. So I'm still behind on my rent. I'm months behind on my rent, and this is lot rent for my trailer. I was supposed to. There was a lady. One of the things that they did for me while I was in the arbors, undergoing therapy and medical and everything, and they looked up this home care assistance. They help with house cleaning and and running chores and things like that. And I was supposed to have an interview with a lady today, and about the middle of the day, knock, 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 come on in. And she comes in, and she didn't get 3 steps inside before she proclaimed that she wasn't going to be they weren't going to be able to do anything for me. Reason why? She stepped on one of the loose floorboards in the hallway. I've got this trailer's a dump, and I've got holes in the floor that I've covered with panels of holes in the floor under the carpet that I've covered with panels of plywood. And she stepped on one of the loose ones, and she said, I'm sorry. We're going. We it's company regulations that the work environment has to be a safe one. and she basically stood there in the hallway like she expected the floor to collapse out from under her at any second. I was like, I understand, and she turns around and she leaves. She walks like literally, like I mean, like she was walking on broken eggs. I'm like, woman, I weigh 400 plus pounds. That floor will support me. It will support you. And she said, yeah, and out the door she was gone. All of like 60 seconds. They're not going to help me because I'm too poor and live in a shitty house. Thank you so much for your loving, charitable efforts. I felt like telling her, lady, I grew up in a pastor's home. I used to follow him around while he was going to visit people who lived in houses that made this thing look like a palace. I mean, places just absolutely just awful. With literal shacks up in the hills of West Virginia. That's what it means to be doing this kind of work. If you can't, if you get the wilting sissies because you walk across the floor with some loose floorboards, you aren't cut out for this kind of work. They're willing to help you so long as you live in a house, that's a safe, nice, healthy environment. But she stepped on that floor and she just, oh. It's just too dangerous for her to be working, to come in here and help me haul out some trash or run for the groceries. But it's fine for me to be living here. I'm a little miffed. I'm a little peeved. The place is a dump. I got 5 or 6. I am looking right now at like 2, 3, 4, 5, about 7 bags of trash sitting here in my living room because. And I've got boxes of trash stacked up elsewhere because I couldn't get the trash out, and because I let my income has been so bad lately. I had to, it was a choice between the electric bill and paying internet, electric, trash, lot rent. Pick any two. So, I've got to pay the trash people about over $100, and then I got to pay them some more to start the trash collection back up. Yeah, and I've got to yank that money out of thin air. Yeah, well, Kaylon, what I figured is, they're only willing to pay. I figured this lady, was figuring she was going to be working in nice little suburban homes with a effete little, elderly gentleman on oxygen who needed somebody to fix him his bacon and eggs in the morning or something. I don't know. Poverty is ugly, okay? Poverty is ugly. If you don't let yourself get poor. Don't let your life slide. Because half the reason you can't get help, when you're hanging off the bottom rung, is because everything around you is so ugly and filthy, and nobody wants to touch it. And you're ashamed of yourself, and you're ashamed of your situation. So you can't bring yourself to ask for help. And you hear a lot about these people. They're so shameless. You've got no choice. You can either have your pride or get some help. This is why I'd never ever and get into like medical or into home care, that kind of work even as a kid, because I knew I wouldn't be able to hack it. And first of all, because I was a little bit worried about the fact, why didn't you? My dad got mad at me once because I didn't apply for a job at a senior citizen center to care for the elderly, and I'm like, he's like, what do you think you're too good for the work? And I'm like, Dad, I can't even keep a potted plant alive. You want to put me in charge of senior citizens? But no, I don't think I could hack that. He got it in his head that I was looking, because when he was younger, he had done that kind of work. He had worked as an orderly in a hospital, and that means some nasty, nasty stuff. And but, old age sucks. Yeah. Mm. Too many issues. Too many issues. Think about it too long, I'll get a subscription. Uh, you got to call the post office. They've got a letter that was they were supposed to. Why the hell didn't they just put the frickin' letter in the mailbox? No, you know, sorry we missed you. This is your last warning. Here's a letter for you from the hospital. Ugh, just hole in the bucket routine. Key in a locked box. You need A to do B, but you need to have B ready to do A. And meanwhile, you got to get C, D, E, F, and G ready on the side. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I really got. I got to break out of this pattern. Got to break out of the pattern because I'm starting to get really tanked up. I don't know what to draw. Pardon. Okay, a piece of typing paper or a piece of writing paper is 8.5 by 11. A comic book page is 10.5 by 7. A business letter is, well, you get the picture. Every single one, different measurements, arbitrary little measurements, make no damn sense, makes no damn point. All of them different, and you got to memorize them all to make sure that you don't send off the wrong size page to the wrong size project. I have spent hours trying to figure out what actual size a screensaver is supposed to be. In pixels or whatever. And in every place I've looked up is a different answer. I hate that. There's no standard for anything. That's what drove me crazy in the early days of personal computers. You had Atari, you had Commodore, you had dozens of different computers and dozens of different software companies selling different software for each one, and none of it was compatible with anything else. Everybody bitches and moans about the monopoly that we allegedly currently have, and I'm like, shut up. You don't know what it was like. You couldn't shop for software because software was in a dozen different formats. You know, basic programming. You try and get a book to teach you how to do basic programming back in those days. Guess what? You needed one for Commodore Basic and one for Atari Basic and one for IBM Basic and one Basic. My blubbery white ass. Every corporate asshole on the planet trying to make their trivially unique system be the company's be the world standard. This is why I want to find the people that are in charge of PDF, who created PDF. I want to kick them in the nuts. I want to kick them so hard that their grandchildren sing soprano. I want to kick them so hard that men standing blocks away, double over and fall to the floor. I've been, the absolute agony, the rigmarole I have to go through. Anytime something, we need this in PDF format. What the fuck? And then I have to go, traipsing through all these programs for conversion factors and convert the files and change the files and adjust the files and move the files around. And using I managed to get my hands on a PDF program. I managed to get it, and Adobe and for a while and use it in PDF. It's like trying to build a ship in a bottle with your elbows. Functions that should be simple as simple as bread and milk. Just take these incredible levels of fussing and fiddling and I've got these huge archives of comic strips. All I want to do is put these comic strips in these pages so that they fit and so that they're in order. PDF can't do that. You'd think any other program on earth, you get the file name, and it will organize alphanumerically by file name. Not PDF. I went spent I forget how many hours rearranging pictures in a PDF file because I had uploaded it to upload the images into the file, and the next thing I know, they're all out of order. They're alphanumerically numbered. 00001, 00002, 00003, and they were all out of order. If I'd have been in the office in the Adobe, in the Adobe company office, there would have been a homicide. When all else fails, draw a cute, sexy girl. That's cute, sexy for a girl. That works. You got your dad an AR for Christmas? I have no idea what an AR is. Translation? Oh, well, K Long, good night and have a good rest. Hope to see you again the next time I do a broadcast. For those of you who are interested in making a donation or a pledge, you can go to www.patreon.com/RHJunior to make a monthly pledge to keep the artist from starving to death. And there's also www.rhjunior.com, where we have the PayPal up for those who just want to throw a one-time dollar in the hat. Oh, an assault rifle. As opposed to what? The hugs and kittens coming out of the end rifle? It's a stupid name for a gun, assault rifle. This is the Fluffy Bunny's gun. You can have one of those in World of Warcraft. Just fire it in the air and it rains little squirrels and bunnies. It's a weird game. Just a moment. making, but made your dad an assault rifle for Christmas. Go full out. Make him a trebuchet. Oh, this is great, son. What do you pull the lever? Wah! Hello, crazy Edumu. Crazy Redumu. Crazy Redumu. Crazy Red Emo. Is that what you're supposed to? Is that your name? Crazy Red Emu? Like the big bird with the frilly feathers? Only red and crazy? I'm not feeling too normal at the moment either. It's the bird. The bird is the word. Emu. You had a pet emu. Okay. Okay, let's see. Emu. A pet emu. Hello, did you miss me? There you go. What the heck? Tina, you fat lard. Come here and eat some dinner. That's a Napoleon Dynamite quote for you. Aren't these the ones that beat Australia at a war? I'm not joking. Look it up. Oh, I just saw this here. Look at this. Look at the front. Right here. See, this is Has-Been Hotel. Your opinion is trash. Don't you love it when people post stuff on the internet? They post stuff on the internet, and they line up, give us all the praise you want, but please don't critique my stuff. Please don't critique my stuff. I don't like having people insult my crap either, but I know that's the price to pay. You go out in public, people are going to come. People are going to have something to say. If you can't cope with criticism, wear a cup. Has-Been Hotel is offensive, and that's the point. Shut up. Oh, well, that's the problem. The point is shit. If your only point is to be offensive, and that's her only point, then you don't have a point at all. You need to grab a can or shut the hell up and get off the stage. Can't cope with people criticizing your stuff. Can't cope with people saying bad things about it. Get a helmet, either get a helmet, get a cup and put up with it, or get off the stage, out of steam. Come on, Eddie. Can at least start on this picture, finish this up a little, and get it. I had to move that all to a second layer. Getting old. Realize that I've become a little. I need my glasses done again. Need my glasses, my prescription updated. My If I hold anything too close to my eyes, it gets blurry now too. Nearsighted and farsighted. Everything just has to be about the distance of my computer screen is from me right now. I haven't got too many things to talk about at the moment. Nothing that crosses my mind. Nothing that I didn't cover in the first half hour of the show, anyway. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, I'm up for that. Anything you like to ask about about the stories I'm doing, about the comics, about anything, really. Just be more than welcome to talk about something. Better idea, better idea. Here we go. Ah, there we go. That's more like it. Couldn't figure out what was wrong about that shoulder, but that just yeah. Did your post get deleted or just not go through? What post and where? Crazy emu. Aching butt. Oh, dang, just shifting around here. Did you post? Apparently, I don't know what you. Do I know a guy who calls himself Ghost? All I know is he likes to rustle through barricans. You got me. I don't know. I don't know what barricans are. Oh, do you mean beer cans? I don't know of anybody that rustles through beer cans. Hmm. Eh, hands are shaky. Getting old. Shaky hands, squinty eyes. It's not something to have when you're on the skids. This was just supposed to be a quick sketch, and it's eaten my attention up 110% just to get it looking right. That's 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 what's killing me these days. It takes so much energy and effort just to make a single comic strip anymore. I'm at the age where most artists are already well established, have a solid, a big, most online artists have a solid audience and numbers enough that that a slowdown isn't instant death. I'm beyond that. I progressed too slowly. I got off the blocks too slow, and if I could go back to when I first learned about the internet, when I first started learning about the internet, I would, knowing what I know now, I would have hit the ground running. I would have had a website and the comic strips, already started. I was too intimidated by the what seemed the magnitude of the project. You know, and when I first started out, guys like Sluggy Freelance were just getting their start, and they had already hit the ground running, and names that are just legends now online. I don't know if you ever heard of Sluggy Freelance, but that's the name that comes to mind for me. Were Nip and Tuck always going to be foxes? Yeah, they were always were. I started drawing Nip and Tuck, just fiddling around with the idea of Nip and Tucks when I was like 10, 11 years old. I was an awful artist, typical kid, stick figures mostly, the typical. But I had seen all these cartoons on TV, and I wanted to do something like that. I saw and I read Pogo and old archives of Pogo Possum, and I wanted to do something like that. That's Pogo Possum is largely responsible for the reason that they're country hillbillies. Southerners. I don't know why you say she's Fern Gully, but you be you. I don't know. She's supposed to be splashed by a wave behind her. I was just somebody who imitated what everybody else was doing, and something original managed to boil up out of it. But there you have it. I'm sorry. I'm falling silent an awful lot. The superhero comic. What would he do? What would Crusader do if he'd come across somebody so evil he wanted to kill him? When you say that, that brings up so many conditions, so many situations, so many circumstances. Like, is he in the middle of is he in the middle of combat? Is has he just captured the guy? Is what are the circumstances? Even somebody who admits that there are certain people that need to die, they're confronted by the fact that when it comes down to brass tacks, it involves a lot of situation. If they were ever confronted with a Rorschach moment or a injustice league, uh, Joker moment. I'm sorry. When you in the real world, you don't need the need for special orders to kill somebody is very rare. I mean there are people out there already in the real world with the words dead or alive next to their name. As in, these people are so dangerous that they've declared, if you see them, if you confront them, do not waste it. Just shoot them. Don't try to capture them. Shoot them. Shoot on sight orders. That's some serious shit. Pardon my language, but it does happen. Uh, there's one guy that wrote. He made a quote that mercy is the privilege of the powerful. If you're in if you're in deadly combat with a homicidal killer and you spare their life, what you're saying is that you are powerful enough that they are not a threat to you. Superman can afford to spare people over and over again. Batman thinks he can afford to spare people over and over again. But the rest of us, you know, there are a reason that cops are told things like shoot on sight or you know in deadly combat with a homicidal killer. I don't think Crusader would first try, but that's the crisis of it. That's the conflict any superhero would face. You've got somebody with superhuman strength, and suddenly you're confronting a villain, and you're duking it out over the city. Is this guy? Every time you throw a punch, it's do you know that can this guy take it, or is he going to explode into a cloud of pink mist once you punch him? There was a comic called Invincible. Ran for I don't know if it's still running, but there was one battle. He was battling some. He's you're just a typical teenage superhero. He's got the Superman package, and he's battling this villain. This villain who's wearing this battle armor, and he punches the guy, and the guy basically explodes all over him. And the next issue shows the superhero, just wandering out of the battlefield. He's half of him splattered with blood, and he's freaking out because he had no idea that the guy was just a baseline human. I think that like anybody, Crusader would be tempted. He would be confronted, some giggling lunatic bragging about how he's going to get back out and kill all his family and all this. He would be very tempted. He would go through a terrible crisis, a terrible temptation just chuck the guy through the nearest brick wall. But I think in the end, he would look at the guy and say, you know, I'm turning you over to the cops now. If I ever see you outside the walls of a prison again, I will kill you instantly. No questions asked, no quarter given. No long speeches, no monologuing. You just go pop, and that's it. Because I'm not going to even wait for you to talk the next time I see you. And anybody, any villain with the IQ of a gerbil would better believe him. I was saying again, Pratchett has some, Pratchett I tend to quote a lot. He said, pray to God if you ever find yourself at gunpoint, pray that it's an evil man at the other end of the gun. An evil man will gloat and lecture and draw it out, savor it like another man would savor a cigar. A good man will kill you without saying a word. People are under the incredibly mistaken apprehension that good and God-fearing and pious means wimpy and weak and unwilling to do brutal things. You want to get that straightened out. Look up Sergeant York. Sergeant York was raised by religious pacifists, and he was one himself. Right up until he joined the military for World War I, he became one of the single most decorated soldiers in the army. Because he realized that him taking a life meant he was saving the lives of people standing behind him. And so he went in without hesitation. He single-handedly captured, I forget how many German soldiers he captured by himself, and how many he killed. And this was a man who believed religiously in peacefulness and pacifism. But he was able to recognize that his righteousness required defending the innocent from the evil. One other guy, he wrote about paladins, and he said very few people know how to play a paladin right in Dungeons and Dragons. They don't realize, people don't realize that paladins are not not lawful stupid. And and he's so tired of seeing these stories where the paladin was backed into a corner and he couldn't do anything without violating his code. And he's like, these dungeon masters aren't paying attention to what the code says. And he says, the paladin, is not, an idiot. The paladin is what is supposed to be what God sends when the smite button is too indiscriminate. Can you dig it? Catatonia. I'm not sure where you're going with that statement. I'm afraid I've just about reached my limits. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I should do next. Well, I'm not talking about the drawing. I'm talking about other things. I just nothing seems obvious anymore. Nothing seems obvious. What my next course of action should be. If you understand what I mean. Quite frankly, it's the end of the year, and I have nothing in the bank. I have I have debts in the form of rent and back taxes uh, and nothing to pay them with. I I have you know no real way to boost my income. Now there are some things I could do that could make me some quick money, but that would basically destroy everything else. I already did one. It was 2 3 years ago. I did about 2 years ago. I did a Kickstarter for uh, the probability bomb. And the more I worked on it, it became obvious that between it was I'd bitten off more than I could chew. It was more than I could do. And it was not going to make any money back. It was not going to, you know, uh, it was a failure, and I had to decide whether I was going to burn myself out trying to finish it. And even if I finished it, the writing part, I still had to have it printed and copies made and have it shipped and about 10,000 other things that it was going to take. At the end, it was going to suck up more money than it made, and I decided to nix it and start making arrangements to pay people back who had made donations to it. And thank God, some of them, a lot of them said, don't worry about it. We were just trying to help out. But things have gotten so straight. Uh, you know, do I stand by my decision? Do I try and start it up again? Do I start it over from scratch? Do I do something else entirely? What do I do? I don't know. I'm a man who never learned how to. Uh, you know, I don't know. I did a GoFundMe after that. Trying to and that that was just another temporary bailout too. I can't. All I've managed to do is find temporary bailouts, and I'm ashamed of that, and I hate it. I want to. I need to. My comics. Uh, they don't seem to take off. None of them seemed to. They plateaued so rapidly, and nothing I seemed to did seemed to pull in more people. It's nearly 2020, and I do not know what to do. When the tax man comes around this year, I'm going to have to stack another thousand or so dollars on top of the taxes I'm already paying monthly. I pay a mere handful of dollars every month. About $50 every month to the IRS, and that's not even treading water. I'm sinking. I'm sinking because every year, they want a little more. And it's all Social Security. Because I'm self-employed, I'm supposed to pay, this big, huge, walloping Social Security tax, and I can't even afford to, get the holes in my roof patched, and you know, here I am. I'm starting to wonder what. I'm starting to wonder what I'm going to compromise next. I'm I there are days I just hate myself. I'm just it's not good. It's not good. I never grew up. I'm sorry to be like this. I'm a terrible host. I'm a terrible host. You came here to be entertained, not to hear me, angst out. But I seem to do this an awful lot, especially late at night. A comic writer. How about some writing while you're here? Well, that's kind of hard to show in a YouTube channel, showing you somebody doing writing. The writing hour. Stop looking over my shoulder. I'm writing. I'm writing. Go away. Go away. Go, 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 go. Tempted to stay. No, no. All it takes is one person making me an offer, and somebody offer me the right amount of money, I just fold like wet toast. That's what worries me. I don't know. I don't know anymore. There's an old joke that a prostitute is a woman who hates sin just a little bit less than she hates starving. I've said that before too. I go through the I hate just give me a second here. I reached that punch yourself in the face sort of phase. If you think you're sick of listening to me like this, imagine being me having to listen to yourself. This is something to consider. Whenever you consider people that are depressed or sad or who suffer anxiety or who are in dire straits and they desperately need help or well, with anything or well, especially depressed people. Let's go with depressed people. Uh, Speaking as somebody who's struggling a lot with uh, just being stressed out and depressed and unable to pull himself out of the mire, he's you hate yourself so much. You hate whining. You hate listening to yourself whine. And people who are strung out like that, they won't seek out other people because they hate listening to themselves and they can't imagine how much more somebody else would get sick of listening to them. And the depressed person thinks, they don't want to listen to me. And they're scared they're scared to death that their unhappiness and their constant uh, depression is going to drive people away. This is why so many depressed people, seriously, dangerously, clinically dangerously depressed people, put on a smiley face, like Robin Williams, my lord. He had gone through a divorce. He'd gone through a second divorce. He was having troubles with his family, and about the time he committed suicide, he had just discovered. I think they found he had the early signs of Alzheimer's or something similar. That probably was just too much for him to take, and too much, and he broke. And this is a man who made everybody laugh, who came in when other people, when Christopher Reeve had his accident, broke his neck, ended up paralyzed. Robin Williams sneaked into the hospital, dressed as a surgeon, and came running into the guy's a hospital room, and started doing this riff on how on he was this German doctor who was going to do a colonoscopy on him, and he said it was the first time that Christopher Reeve had laughed since the accident. He said, after Robin Williams had come in, he said, that was the point I knew everything was going to be okay. This is a man who lifted other people up out of despair, and he couldn't pull himself up by his own bootstraps. And he wore that smiling face until the day he died. And I can't even manage that. I'm here on the internet. Oh, I'm sorry, my life is so. Woe is me. Shake the tin cup. Shake, 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 shake. I have 4 months. I need to raise a shitload of money in 4 months. Hell, I need a shitload of money right now to pay my landlord back, and then I need another shitload to pay the IRS, and another minor baby poop load to get my trash collection started up again. And I need money, 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 money. And I'm reaching a point where no, I don't. I have the Discord program. I have no idea what a Discord is. Work with me. I'm an old fart, and I'm still getting used to the idea of being on YouTube. What exactly constitutes a Discord channel? How does it work? And I'm not sure how that helps. Another channel where people will sit there and stare at me and wait for me to do something entertaining. That's just one. Before I start getting shit, I need something to put on the channel. I have no idea what Skype is. I don't have Skype either. Oh, you newfangled. Oh, you young folks with all your newfangled crap. Whatever happened to the old dial-up telephone? Pick it up, click it a couple of times. Operator, done. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what is a Discord channel for. What do you use it for? I hear about people putting, these people are putting artwork on my Discord channel, and I'm like, bingo, bango, bongo, bongo. Talk to me in your native tongue, please. Yeah, Skype is like a phone. I'm tempted to just leave that picture like it is right there. Right there. Skype is an internet phone, and I've got the I've got the Discord download. Okay, I downloaded Discord and installed it because it was a requirement for a guild I belonged to for a while in World of Warcraft. They threw me out, and I'm still not sure why. But anyway, and I'm still not sure why I needed a Discord to belong to a World of Warcraft guild. And I don't understand anything anymore. I don't understand nothing. Yeah, it's a private chat. Everybody comes. Everybody recommends these chat. I remember when everybody. Do you have an IRC channel yet? Oh, you need an IRC channel. Gee, you really ought to get an IRC channel. I've got an IRC channel, and there are 15 people that are still logged onto it who have not said a word since 1997. Wow, that really did me a lot of good. And now I've got a YouTube channel. Okay, we've got 4 people in channel. 4. This is how freaking boring I am. Mm. Okay, let's be. I'm gonna put that away for a while. Put that away for a while. I could just draw a nipple on that right now and probably get a $50 purchase for it. Color it in. I'll pay you 75. Um, I, I, it's like I tell myself I need to update daily. I need to update a comic strip daily, and I never update daily. No matter how much I tell myself, no matter how much I push myself. No, so let's do it. I got nothing. I don't know. do a comic strip. See if I can think of one. I'm sort of stuck on where to go next with the. I know what's generally supposed to happen in Tales of the Questor, but I don't know where to go with it. How to illustrate it. It's sort of leaving me in the dust. Come on, try and update just once before the end of the new year. Cripes. Come on, think. Okay. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this board, and I can't think of a single thing. Except for another couple of cheap sex jokes at the expense of Nip and Zelda. Terrible. Hmm. can't think of any comic strips right now, so what I'm going to do instead is just going to just draw a quick picture of each other. Give me a pencil. Come on. Can't think of a humorous strip, so I'll do a humorous picture. That's all I got. Something, anything, you know. Checking something, checking something. Do a handful of comics where everyone switches worlds. The USJ, the sports event, all for one at Komeno, and the Little Time Girl. Yeah, I know about the Little Time Girl. Yeah, I know. You read a little bit of it ahead. Yeah, I know about that. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing of it, Yeah, those are generally the events that occur in My Hero Academia stories. They're the stations of the canon, if you like. I've been very tempted to do something to radically change that. In at least one of the stories, change it so that the major events are totally unraveled. I'm not sure how I would do it. The little time girl is inevitable. Is inevitable. She's just too much of a whoopee. You know. I mean, the first time I saw a picture, I heard, I got the general idea, people tell me there's this little girl who's being held captive by, these evil villains, and they're experimenting. I'm like, yeah, standard, damsel in distress, and then they showed this. Then I saw a picture of the girl. Just pick. Let me see. It was what Ari, I believe her name was. Let's see here. Here we go. And the first time I saw, let's see, where is it? Well, here's one. It's one picture. Let's see. Window capture 2. That's Airy. And the first time I saw her, it was a picture of her, looking up at her captors, these big, terrified, frightened eyes, and I'm like, hey, Tarzan Bandara, Kiriga Bandara, you know. I wanted to dive in and save her, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to write a character. I'm not going to be able to write a character that isn't going to go balls to the walls to save this helpless little cinnamon bun whoopee of a girl. When let's just put it this way, Riley's going to get over his inhibitions about causing people pain very quickly when he finds out about Eri-chan and what's been happening to her. I mean, I've read the pages, over Arc and Red Story. It just breaks your heart, man. He's like, oh, I want to go up to the author and go, all right, I surrender. You win. You know how people are. People are. You know how fans of. You know how fans of Harry Potter are about the Dursleys, and but especially they don't even regard the Dursleys or Voldemort with as much loathing as they do. Uh, uh, what's her name? The one in the pink cardigan. I can't remember her name. That witch who made him write lines with a blood quill. Whatever her name was. They hate Voldemort. They hate the Dursleys, but they absolutely loathe her. And most fan fiction authors, I mean, that woman. In most fan fiction, she faces a fate worse than death at the hands of most of the fan fiction authors out there. And but the villain that has hold of Airy. I mean, you just almost sit there. You just want to claw at the screen at the guy because what he's doing to the he's basically uh, he's a fanatic who's obsessed with eliminating all quirks for he blames quirks for everything that's wrong with the world and his answer is that he's invented these quirk destroying bullets. They're not they're not permanent, not yet. But he's designed the thing of it is the secret ingredient is airy. They take blood and tissue from her. They cut pieces off of her to make these bullets. She's the poster child for traumatized children. So yeah, this is she's going to make an appearance in the fan fictions I'm doing, and it's going to go very very badly for the bad guys. Let's just leave it at that. Aizawa. I didn't see the comment about the power set and being selfish. I don't get what you're talking about. Selfish. Everybody's everybody likes a redemption arc to some degree. But what would that constitute for Thelma for Hortense? I really regret giving her that name. Because it's really hard to pronounce for one thing. And using out of date names that it was cute as a running gag, but it gets real old real fast. But I don't think her falling in true love is in the offing. You know. And really, the slumber party was more or less her redemption arc, her quote unquote redemption arc. That was where it was revealed why she's so feminist and so uptight, and we got a little bit more of her character development on the cruise storyline. Or she basically admitted that feminism as a movement was a mess. That is and that what that all these feminists all the it was all these double uh, uh, messages and mixed meanings and all the things that feminism kept saying she was supposed to want. They were so self-contradictory. Not most character development isn't a road to Damascus moment. You know, we've grown to expect it. I think. Don't get it wrong. In the current conversation, she is genuinely happy for Zelda and Thelma that they found. That they got married and they got a man that that loves them and they love. But it just strikes her as hysterically funny that the biggest macho man in Malarkey County has basically been quote unquote neutered. Extra funny if her future is a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids. No, that's not funny. That's an old cliche. It's an old joke, and it rarely pans out. Now, my dad, my dad will claim the same. He says he's known a few feminists, the real militant types, and once they found a man, they went total Miss Homebody, you know. Well, I submit this. I've seen a few feminists in my time, ball busting women in my time, and they found a man, and they remained, and they became a ball busting wife. So no guarantees. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to say it, but this is one of the things. Even the worst movements in the world, the worst political and social movements in the world, all of them, even the worst of them, have at least one or two valid points. That's the grease that keeps the whole engine turning, really. That they do have a valid point. The Occupy Wall Street crowd, they did have a point. They did kind of have a point. They were expected to they had been basically, they were an entire generation of people young people who had been conned into going for the diploma, and being told over and over again that it doesn't matter, pursue get the sheepskin and you'll be able to pursue whatever career you want. That was the sermon, chapter and verse from every school counselor for the past umpty years. And guess what? It didn't pan out. In fact, the exact opposite happened. You went out there with a bachelor's degree, and you were just one of another billion people. Nobody wanted you. They made the point that they were being expected to, as one guy put it, he hated the older generation because of the hypocrisy of it. He said, we were told in our entire lives, get the diploma, get the diploma, get the diploma. What, you want to end up flipping burgers for a living? And then they went out and got the diploma, and now they can't get a job with it. And because they don't want to try and pay off a six-figure debt with a job flipping burgers, they're being called entitled and lazy and privileged by the very same people that told them to do these things. And I'm like, this is kind of crap. I'm out of I'm out of that particular market. But I don't have to stand in bullshit to smell it, or to know what it looks like. And I looked at this claim, they want money, they want $15 an hour for, for flipping burgers. I've worked those jobs. It's hard, dirty work. Flipping burgers and cleaning toilets and scrubbing floors and emptying trash and scrubbing grease off of conveyor belts and All the nasty, dirty work that nobody else wants to do themselves. And what's worse is that thanks to inflation, minimum wage in 19, I've repeated this factor so many times. 1964 minimum wage was $1.25, which translates out to $15 an hour today. What is minimum wage today? $7.50 an hour. So don't flap your don't flap your lips, Boomer, because you were making twice what they were at the same job. And you got people out there, you got people with two incomes who can't keep a roof over their heads. They're working 40 hours a week, got two jobs, can't keep a roof over their heads. People are literally living in their cars because they can't afford an apartment. And what's another hysterical thing is that it's almost impossible to get an apartment without a good credit rating. How do you get a good credit rating? By using a credit card for everything. So basically, if you're responsible and don't spend money you don't have, you have shit rating. That's how bass-ackwards our economy is. And this is what the millennials are having to work with. Everybody else, everybody else who isn't already on Social Security. It just makes me angry. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Damn, and I still have to. I have. No, it's just not right. You know. Okay, let's see. So RHJunior. don't want to. Ton of money and fast. That's what I need. I've become a beggar, and I hate that. An irresponsible beggar, and I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy with that in the least, and I'm not sure how to. I need to break out of this. I need to break out of that. You know but I'm not sure how. It's the old saying is it's hard. When you're up to your ass in alligators, it's kind of hard to remember that your initial objective was to drain the swamp. And I managed to get myself in a position where I'm constantly got alligators on my ass. And anytime I managed to pull out of it, I just managed to pull out just far enough. And in no time at all, I'm back in the mess again. I'm back in the swamp. I'm not sure. I don't know anymore what it would take to get me out of there. To get over to get over the hump you know now one of my objectives is that currently I have 100 patrons on Patreon, and I currently make they currently uh, uh, tribute $400 to me, approximately, every month. My goal is to get to the point where I have $1,000 in pledges. But again, I seem to have stalled out at that particular point. I'm not, I'll gain a couple of pledges, and then the next month I'll lose them. I'll lose a couple of others. So I've stalled out at about 400, about 100 uh, patrons. 100 patrons making a total of 400. So it's about an average of $4 a sponsor. And there we go. The Nip and Tuck picture is posted. It's very, very quick and scratchy. Mm.
Declan, aka Declan DP.
I'm not keeping my promises. That's my problem. I'm afraid, Eli and T-Mug, no, I did not see your comment. Uh, no factory job plus no college. Yeah, you got your own house. Congratulations, crazy red emu. That's gotta be nice. I do have my own house. It's a trailer. It's 1971 model. It's falling apart around me. Sort of like I'm falling apart around myself. Selfish that you're worried that you won't see the end of your books. I'm selfish in that I'm worried that I won't reach the end of my books. I'm just glad that I have a few stories that I did finish, you know? I have a children's story. It's an illustrated children's story. I think one of the things, I think tomorrow I'm going to sit down, I'm going to scan it in, one page at a time. I have to. It hasn't been scanned yet, come to think of it. I'm going to scan it in, if I can find a copy, and see if I can't publish it with Amazon. It's practically a preemie reader thingy. Let's see. I forget how many years ago I drew this. Hmm. Okay. Just got that uploaded, got that taken care of. I'm gonna upload this, see if I can get anything out of it. Okay, I've been drifting off here. It's okay. It has been about 4 hours. It is midnight, quarter after midnight, actually. I think I've wasted enough of your time. I'm going to try and have something else tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday. Oh, well. We got to keep going. Got to keep moving. Movement is a sign of life. As long as you keep moving, you got something. Okay. I'll see you all later. You all take care of yourselves, all right? Good night, everybody, and you have a good night.